Hey, welcome back, folks. You know, I bet everybody in this area missed us. Left, right, Tom McLaughlin, Gino Funicello. Tom, of course, from Maine, state that most people would like to forget. New Hampshire, of course, where, you know, the best things occur in life. Wonderful news. We haven't met for a month, and in that time, the Patriots have found their way to be the second seed, which will allow them to sit back and wait for a couple of the poorer teams to win their games in the prelims, and then they'll face a really weak team. So, Tom, that is great news.
Great news that the Patriots lost, huh?
You got to put a spin. There's a spin on everything. Don't we all know that?
Yeah.
Tom, what have you got for a bit of good news out of you?
A bit of good news?
From the holiday season, I hope.
Let's see. I filled up my oil tank for, I think, under $300. It wasn't completely empty, but prices are down. That's nice. More money in my pocket.
Great.
You know, go out and spend it on something else. And gasoline is nice. And
oh, look at the price of gas.
I like that.
$1.91.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to last much longer, but there it is. But that's bad news. Okay, so good news is I'm healthy, and I woke up this morning. The sun was out, and I'm doing well.
But our restaurant was closed. Let's not go there, because we then did go and have a nice breakfast somewhere else.
We did.
We
did. Yes, went to. We can say the name of a business, right? We went to Priscilla's and had a
very
nice breakfast.
lady too.
Yes, yes.
Clean as a whistle place.
That's not her name though.
No, her name is not Priscilla.
And I forget what.
I don't know what her regular name is.
She's told me 3 times, and I hate to ask her the 4th time.
Can we jump off on the? Yeah, I think that'll be okay with top management. That we had our good news push the show. All right, now let's get really hateful.
Let's get hateful.
Yeah. Here's the thing, you know. Last week on the 30th, 31st, I'm reading the local paper, the Conway Daily Sun, otherwise known by other names that I won't mention them on the air. And what do I read? An interview that had been handled by the Conway Sun officers, all their regulars, and of course, Tom McLaughlin was there as one of their columnists. And what do I read? An interview by Tom with the next First Lady of the United States, Hillary Clinton.
The next First Lady?
President.
A former First Lady.
Ex-First Lady, next President of the United States. And why don't you tell us a little about it, Tom? And I'll.
Well, I knew I'd get only one question, and but as it turned out, I was able to ask my question and a couple of follow-ups as well. And I was glad to be able to do it. I interviewed Carly Fiorina that morning on the telephone, and I said, I told her about the pending interview. If it wasn't snowed out, there was the day of the storm.
Yeah.
And I said, if you could ask Hillary a question, what would it be? She said, why did you lie to the American people the day after Benghazi? And I said, guess what? That's the question I'm going to ask. And she said, great minds, et cetera, et cetera. So I did. I didn't ask it exactly that way. I couched it, and there'll be a couple of clips that you can see right here. And I have a specific question about that, if I could interject. But you mentioned the families, the Benghazi victims, and the discrepancy Mark brought up about your email to a conversation maybe to your daughter about it being an Al-Qaeda-like group, Ansar al-Sharia. Then you told an Egyptian diplomat in a phone conversation that it was a planned attack and not a protest. But then when the bodies were brought back, you spoke to the family members and you told them, they say you told them, that this was a spontaneous demonstration. And then on George Stephanopoulos asked you on This Week, did you tell them it was about the film? And you said no. Now, somebody's lying.
Well, first let me say, well, not me. That's all I can tell you.
I'm sure those people were distraught.
Yes.
3 different people. Tyrone Wood's father said about you, that you told him, quote, we're going to have a filmmaker arrested who was responsible for the death of your son. Sean Smith's mother reported, she said that it was because of the video. And then Glenn Doherty's sister said that you chose to, quote, in that moment, to basically perpetuate what you knew was untrue. So all 3 of them say you told them that, and you say you didn't tell them that.
I can only tell you what I know happened. I can't speak to them. I can tell you what Chris Stevens' family believes. I can tell you what Sean Smith's wife believes. I can tell you what other family members believe because, yes,
But you didn't tell them that.
I did not tell them that.
So, the Sun wrote it up. Damon Steers, a reporter, and he wrote the thing up. It ran on Wednesday, so that would have been the 30th.
Yes.
And then on Thursday, my sister texted me to say, the Drudge Report picked it up. Now, for those of you that don't know what the Drudge Report is, it's one of the biggest sites on the web, in the top 10. And it gets 600 million hits a month. 2
million a
million
day.
unique visits every day. So, and all conservative media checks it. I check it 5-6 times a day. And so it got, from there it went to the London Daily Mail, from there it went to various, I don't know, all the conservative sites. And the Washington Post picked it up on Monday, but not as a news story. They had their fact checker, and you know, about did Hillary lie when the bodies came back from Benghazi.
What do they give her? They usually have like a
Oh,
Pinocchio or something.
they were neutral, but they
okay.
lifted my question to her.
That was
you
good.
know,
I'm glad
and-
they did that.
Yeah, and anyway, so it went to about about 40 different
Sites,
media outlets, and then Megyn Kelly. I thought it was over. So I thought I was kind of of course, I'm glad that I made the Drudge Report, but it was on a Thursday. It was New Year's Eve, and Brett Baer, who's been covering this story for 3.5 years, I know
He's
he
on
would
Fox.
he would have
Fox
picked it up. He's
newscaster.
on vacation, and then Rush Limbaugh, he would have picked it up because his stories come right out of the Drudge Report,
Yeah.
and he was on vacation. And then locally, Howie Kyle, the Boston radio station guy, he also gets the stories from the Drudge Report, and I've been on his program a few times, and he was on vacation. So I'm thinking, I knew that. I'm thinking, geez, I could have gotten more exposure.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
Well, you
but
did
Megyn
well.
Kelly ran it. Now, there's a story coming out, a movie next week, and it's called 13 Hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big Hollywood production. It'll be in the theaters around here, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so three survivors of that attack who
Mm.
were former SEALs or Special Green Berets or whoever they were. One of whom was wounded, almost lost his whole arm.
In
was-
that attack.
In that attack,
Yeah.
yeah, they survived, and they were good. They were friends
Now,
of the
you
guys who
said-
died.
I got to interject a
Doherty
question.
and
You say they're
Woods.
former SEALs. What were they doing there that day?
Well, the CIA now. They're contractors.
Oh, okay. They're contractors.
Working for the CIA,
all right.
yeah. Yeah, and
So
that's how
like
Hillary
guards or
identified them. She said they were CIA operatives.
Okay. I didn't know.
Yeah.
All right.
and
I think.
So anyway, they were on there. So Megyn Kelly was interviewing them, and do you think this movie depicts
Yeah,
events in
yeah.
Benghazi as it happened? And the guy said, and one of them got choked up, and he said, "Oh yeah, I felt like I was back there."
Hmm.
And then anyway, she ran a graphic of my question to Hillary, and so she said, "This story is still alive." And
Yeah. Well, they hopefully.
yeah, I was very pleased about the exposure, and I'm doing my, and I did a podcast. Some of the clips that you just saw were from that podcast, and it's on YouTube. You can check it out if you want to see the whole thing. But yeah,
I've been
I was
wondering.
happy about it.
Yeah, okay. I've been wondering for years why we don't get more attention nationally because we've been on here for 5 years. We keep asking these people to come on. Some of them
Yeah.
will, and some of them may now because we have now, due to my partner here, this strong international and national, international. I may say.
International. We
Yeah.
even ran in
So
Africa.
this is great. Now, and I really want to get some of these people from both parties up here because I want to ask them things.
Well,
like, I want to ask
I'll
Chris
invite them.
Christie.
Maybe-
I want to ask Chris Christie, why he did the bridge deal, and without
I've
actually
already
playing
asked him that.
cards.
I asked him at the Sun.
I want to get him anyway. I want to ask, what's his name, Pablo Cruz from Texas. I want to just pick his brain a little bit and see if there's anything there to garden. I'd love to have Donald Trump. You know how his name
Do you
used to
suppose
be
he'll
spelled?
come to LVO's towers here? From Trump Towers
I'm
to
just worried about how
LVO's
we're going to
towers?
get Christie in here. The other question would be who else? I'd like to get Bernie Sanders in. I want to ask him
Well, I was
how.
supposed to interview him Monday morning, but he canceled.
Bring him here. Get him on here. We'll meet
Maybe.
him day or night.
We still got, 4 weeks left for the primary?
Yeah,
So,
all of that. I
yeah.
think it's February 7th. Well, yeah, it's 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this is all interesting, and I'm so glad you were able to talk to her. And I've met her a number of times. I find her to be truthful, but of course, you're a different of a different
I read her
persuasion
differently than
party-wise.
you do.
Yeah, you read her very differently. I read her as a person who's been maligned for, what, 28 years now, 30 years? I mean, no.
When you say malign, that
She
has
said
a
really foul things said
unfair
about her.
connotation.
What
to
I
it.
want this election to be, I want this election to be between Hillary Clinton and whoever, Donald Trump, whoever. I don't want it to be between Ivana Trump and Hillary Clinton. I want it to be the two candidates. Let's leave the families
Why
out
would
of it.
When would it be otherwise?
Hang on to your hat. Hang on to your hat. I can see it developing. Anyway, what else have you got, Tom? Let's move
What
on
have I
to
got?
other quarters.
Okay,
I'm sure other
let's
things
see.
have happened.
Gun control. Yesterday, the big news, Obama is doing another executive order
Yep.
having to do with increasingly stringent background checks for gun dealers or people buying guns in gun shows. He's also, there's a segment about, he's asking doctors to report people who may have any kind of mental issues, and so that they will
Yeah.
go on some registry. He's expanding, basically what it'll do is expand a registry of guns. So let's see, so I'm trying to think, of all my pistols, I have, only one of them I think is on the Federal Registry.
Yeah.
Because I bought it and I had a background check and so forth. None of my rifles, shotgun, none of that is on there. So, but I don't like that the federal government has a registry of everybody who owns guns. And because what is that prelude to? That's prelude to going and snatching guns. Now, I'm not saying that that's what Obama, there's nothing about snatching guns in here, but I don't trust him any more than I trust Hillary. And that is what I think he wants to do. And he still has a year left in office. And I'm concerned about this. I really am. Because he talked about Second Amendment rights and he believed in them. I don't think he does not believe in this. But the biggest problem I have with that is that he's the president of the United States. He's the executive. He's making law. And that's not what the president does. Congress makes law. And
We used to think so.
he says, well, Congress isn't acting on it, so I'm going to do it. Well, if Congress isn't acting on it, because Congress doesn't want to act on it, and so therefore it's not going to happen. But then he wants to make it happen, and this is unconstitutional. And
Well, it may, but it shows you. It just has to show you the gutlessness of Congress, because if Congress wanted a change, they could exactly say we want or we don't want to change. But they don't want to do that because then it makes them look like they love guns too much. The problem is they're only willing to hold his coat if he decides to make a statement. Oh, go ahead. We'll
I agree with you.
And
They kiss his butt.
well,
the
it's not
Republicans
just
in the
him,
kiss
it's
his
just
butt.
us. Him is part of the same old crew that's been running the place for 200 years. It doesn't matter. They don't want to disagree in public because it may affect their ability to get elected. Before we talked about even Chris Christie, there are Republicans that hate the man because he hugged the president.
We talked about this over breakfast.
Yeah,
yes.
after the hurricane. He hugged the president. Big,
Oh, Christie.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal. This is how thin-skinned people have become here, where the president can be maligned, maybe sometimes justifiably, a lot of times unjustifiably. I didn't like the fact that he cried on camera yesterday. I thought that was a little phony. But the thing is,
I have to agree with you on that.
go after these anti-tank weapons and machine guns and 100-bullet clips, I can understand that. I can understand him being good enough to stand with a group of parents who had their kids' heads blown off. I just wish we would get to the point where we showed the pictures of the kids. You want to look at Benghazi? I want to look at the pictures of the kids with their heads splattered all over walls of a schoolroom. Maybe some of these people with guns would stop for a minute and say, you know what? It really isn't a good idea to have 100-bullet clips. It really should look back at mental cases buying machine guns over the counter in Walmart. 30 seconds. Saying is, that's what I want to see. I want to see the kids that get their heads blown off. That would bring it home. Everybody wants to hide behind the, don't look at the man behind the curtain, but hate Obama because he thinks he says something like that. And I think it's just a waste of time. America is going to hell in a handbasket, and you Republicans are helping it speed down that handbasket. Nothing's good. Everything's bad. You're nihilists. That's it. Enough said. Your turn.
I would agree with you about
Thank you.
about up to a point. I wouldn't show pictures of those dead kids in Newtown, Connecticut. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, if you get a signature
If
from the parent, go
if
ahead.
the parents didn't sign off on it, if the parents would have
Yeah,
to,
if they signed off on
because
it,
that's
sure.
that's cruel to show, to put parents through.
Look,
They've
I-
already gone.
I think it's horrible.
Hopefully they worked through their grief by now, because to
Ugh.
lose a kid, I'll tell you, is no easy thing, and it's. I could almost agree with you if
Yeah.
they would simultaneously show pictures of dead babies who have been aborted.
I think that
Because,
happens anyway. It does
Well,
happen.
you can see it on the web.
Yeah.
But most of the, even pro-life people, most of them will say, no, don't show the pictures. But guess what? Well, right now, we have taking ultrasounds. Ultrasounds are very, very high tech now. You can
Yeah.
see the baby's fingers. You can see the,
It's awful.
you know that's a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So pro-life people are trying to have state laws where women wanting abortions have to have an ultrasound and look at it and say, this is what you want to kill. But and of course, pro-choice people, or pro-abortion, I'll call them, people, are very much against that, exactly for that reason, because the women will see what they're choosing. And so, yeah, pictures are powerful. A picture's worth more than 1,000 words.
Absolutely.
So I can understand why you'd want to, why you're doing it. But I'm not a pro, I think the Second
And I'm not
Amendment.
anti-gun. I'm not. I
Well,
am
that's
not
good.
anti-gun.
That's
Absolutely not. I think people need it for their protection or whatever.
Okay, so background checks for mental patients, certainly. I'm
That's-
not against that.
yeah.
All right, but I don't like this federal gun registry thing, and I don't like that doctors can turn in somebody, unless, of course, they have an actual diagnosis, and then okay, and then not all diagnosis. If you were depressed
No,
temporarily, that you lose your Second Amendment rights for that. But that's where he's going with it. That's what he wants to do.
Part of the, I'm absolutely not anti-gun for protection or for hunting, and I just think that there are certain places you can make some modest little tweaks, like not selling 100-bullet clips. I mean, anybody that's what are you hunting? A stegosaurus? Are you hunting a rhinoceros? What are you hunting? You don't need 100 bullets to kill a deer. I mean, and there are hunters that will use a 100-bullet clip to kill a deer.
Are there such things as 100-bullet clips?
Yes, there are.
Really?
Yes. So
I never got into
it's frightening to know the
assault rifles. So I don't
and
know.
I understand the feelings that you don't want the government, controlling.
Mine's a lever action 30-30.
Controlling a lot of
Model
stuff like
94.
that. Having registries, I think, can be scary too and dangerous. But we live in a different time. We really do. We live in a different time. We got 300 million weapons in this country, and the average person has 3 or 4 of them. So, there's 90 million
In
people.
New Hampshire, yeah.
In the country, and there's 90 million people that have most of the guns. That's a lot of people, anyway. But now you got up in state of
you a
Oregon,
gun
you
owner?
got some people. No, you got some people with heavy firepower that took over a federal agency office somewhere.
Are they still occupying that?
I don't know. The thing
As
is,
of yesterday, they were.
the thing is, yeah, you go in that building and take it because you got guns. And I'm not against sit-ins. I'm against sit-ins with machine guns. That's what worries me. Because one of these times it'll be like Waco or like the thing that happened 10 years ago when they killed the guy's son and all that stuff.
It's a possibility. Yeah.
It's terrible, and it's too much. Can't we talk these things out? We've been arguing here 5 years now. Maybe we haven't agreed on 2% of what we talk about. But here's the point. We're talking about it. And if they turn on this show and they hate me or hate you, they can turn it off or they can watch it and hate a little more. But the point is, talking it out is much better than shooting it out, I think, anyway. And I think we're heading down a really dark road sometimes.
Well,
And,
is it my turn?
But, yeah.
That interested me, that situation in Oregon, because the constitutionality of what was going on there is questionable. And you had 2 guys, they have a ranch in Oregon, and it abuts federal land.
Mm-hmm.
And they lease some of that federal land, I assume, to graze cattle or something.
So like
And
the
so,
Bundy thing.
in order to manage their own land, they set a fire to burn some underbrush and
Yeah,
so forth.
whatever.
And it got out of control, and it burned 140 acres of the adjoining federal land as well as their own, and it was put out. Okay, so for that reason, they were charged as terrorists. I don't know if you know that. They were
they
charged
burn
as
it on
terrorists by
purpose?
the federal government, by the Bureau of Land Management. They did it. They didn't burn the federal land on purpose. Like I say, they started
Oh,
on
they
their
were burning
own
their own land.
property.
Yeah.
But then the
Yeah.
fire spread to adjoining federal
Oh.
land, which I think they leased it. I'm not sure of that. But they started
Yeah.
on their own property, so it's an accident,
Yeah.
right? Now the DEP, the department. I mean, they polluted this river down there in New Mexico and Arizona. I mean,
Let's stay with Oregon for a minute. So what
but they
happened?
didn't. None of the Environmental Protection Agency officials had to go to jail for that. These guys were prosecuted as terrorists. The judge said, "I'm supposed to give a minimum 5-year sentence for these guys because they're terrorists because of what they did. That's ridiculous." He said. So I'm going to give one guy 3 months and another guy, I forget, a little longer
Oh.
sentence. They're father and son, and so the guys they went to jail and they served their sentences.
Oh.
Then comes the Bureau of Land Management, and they say we don't think that they were in there long enough, and we want to put them back in jail. That's what happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
But you
it's
can see
not-
how that could now evolve
now
into
the militia
gunplay.
groups are saying the guys already served their time, and now you're putting the
Yeah.
screws to them for what? And so that's and these guys, guess what? They went to jail again.
Yeah.
Yeah, they turned themselves in. They
So now who
obviously
took
didn't
over the
agree with
building?
it. But then these militia groups, independent of the two ranchers
yeah.
who were prosecuted again,
Did the
there's a
ranchers
double
know
jeopardy
them?
questions. There's a Fifth Amendment violation. There's a
But
right?
did those people that had the fire, did they know the militiamen that are now taking the building?
They did, and they didn't
Oh.
approve of it.
Oh, okay.
They-
I know there was a guy in New Hampshire, him and his wife.
They asked them not to. They said,
Remember about
don't
2
do
years
it.
ago, this guy and his wife locked themselves in their house. There was a federal tax lien or something.
In New Hampshire.
And, yeah, and a bunch of people went up to help them, and they both got like 20
that
years.
up north?
It was down south in New Hampshire.
Because in
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know.
There have been several cases
I
like
think,
this.
you know, my
there's a
argument-
tinderbox out
Yeah.
there.
Well, my
like
argument,
this.
people, is be careful when you attack the government because they've got a lot more weapons than you, and they could do a lot more damage in a hurry. I mean, so I advise them not to fight the government. You know, try to hire new people or change the laws or whatever, but don't go to war against the government or you're going to wind up dead. Anyway, I want to take us back to the good old days. Pre Obama, just October of 2008. You know, October 2000, not that long ago. Things were going, pretty good. I'll give you an example. 800,000 jobs a month were being lost. 48 million people with no health insurance. The Dow, wonder of wonders, was at 7,500. Things were going. Unemployment was at 10%. I mean, this country, wow, I'll tell you, but that George Bush pushed us right over the top. Gas, $4.06 a gallon a month or two before he got kicked out of town. Now here we are, the bad old days, 2015. Oh, God. 2015 going into 16. This is terrible. I hate to even report this stuff. 15 million more people have health insurance now than they did then. Damn it, how can that happen? We're gaining 200,000 to 250,000 jobs a month. I don't know why the hell they're pushing so hard to bring us back to those bad old days. The Dow is at 17,000 plus, which is, 70%, 60, 70% higher than it was. Unemployment is down to 5%, and last week I paid $1.91 for gas down in Hampton, New Hampshire. These times are getting terrible, and it's all because of this Don Obama. Obama has sunk this country to a new low. How does he get away with reducing unemployment by 50%? I'm telling you, we got to do something about this guy. I know one thing, Trump will make it a lot better. So anyway, that's my story about how the bad old days are here again.
You left out a few critical things, Gino.
Yeah, there's no lying. There was no lying then. There's lying now. I love it.
The
Wait a minute, 1 second. Go ahead.
the federal debt was at 10 million,
Oh, it was more than that.
10 trillion, excuse me,
Trillion, yeah.
10 trillion.
Way more than that.
By the time Obama leaves office next year, 20 trillion, which means that President Obama has put us in debt, has borrowed more money that we can't pay back, more, just as much or more than every single president going back to George Washington put together. Okay, so yeah, he can make things look good by taking the federal credit card and going out and buying and going on a spending spree.
I see. But
Okay,
he must be buying a
so,
lot of gas.
Yeah, wonderful job that he's done for us. 95
Oh,
million Americans out of the workforce. More Americans on food stamps than at any other time in our history. More Americans onto Social Security, disability, the new form of welfare. President Obama, and a disastrous foreign policy, which has Saudi Arabia and Iran about to go to war with each other over the Persian Gulf.
I hope neither
what
one
that's going to
wins. I hope
do
neither
to
one
oil
wins.
prices. And Hillary Clinton, who claimed in her book Hard Choices, I was the architect of the Obama foreign policy. Yeah, the Obama foreign policy that is an absolute disaster. You're the architect, all right.
I see.
And I hope the American people remember that when they go to the polls, because it looks like this woman is going to make it. I was lots of questions I would like to have asked her,
I wish you had more time
but
to ask
I
her
wish I
questions.
had a whole lot more time.
You could ask her
I
about
didn't.
Bill, you could have
I
asked about
didn't have more
Whitewater,
time.
you could have asked about all those things, the Christmas card list.
I would have asked about just the stuff that's going on now and what that woman has done as Secretary
I
of
see.
State, and also what she did as Senator. And, okay, that's all I'd talk about. I'm not going to talk about anything else. She can run on her own record the things that she has done. Okay, and Libya is an absolute disaster, and she was behind that. Okay, we had the refugee crisis that we have, people going into Europe and transforming it, and I'll talk more about that in my next segment.
Yeah, I wish you would, because, you know, I think things have been bad and things could be worse. But things were a lot worse between 2000 and 2008 than they are right now. And I think there are a lot of things we could correct if we could, but I think it's almost impossible with what we did to the Middle East in 2003. I mean, what we did to the Middle East is unforgivable. It was stupid. It was done by a bunch of people who thought, oh, boy, we can correct things in the Middle. We can democratize the Middle East. You will never democratize the Middle East, and no one can democratize the Middle East because it's not a democratic area. God almighty, how stupid could they be? Cruz is going to win Iowa. You know what? Proving that
Polls
he
seem to indicate that he will.
is the real extremist, because you know something. In the last, I mean, how many years?
Extremist.
Iowa in the contest have never chosen anybody but an extremist. Huckabee.
Obama.
How about the guy from? Now I'm talking about the conservatives.
Obama won the primary.
I'm talking about the
I mean, the
conservative
caucus.
side. No, the Democrats out there are fine. They're normal.
Oh, they're
people.
fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
But you get a
Okay.
bunch of Bundys out there, and not the guy from TV. Who's the other guy out there that won? Pat Robertson. Now that you know
He
is
won?
He won in Iowa. Top
When was
shelf
that?
freak.
80s?
1988. Okay? I mean, these are the things you have to know. If we're going to appear someday on national television, you must remember things like that. Now, anyway, so he's a terrorist, an extremist.
Who?
Cruz?
Cruz
yeah.
is an extremist?
Yeah, he is an extremist. Everybody knows him. Knows this.
Okay.
And his wife is coming in tomorrow. I want to know why she's supporting a terrorist.
Coming to Priscilla's tomorrow, yeah.
Is she going to be at Priscilla's?
Yeah.
We should go there and interview her. I want to find out why she's supporting a terrorist.
I'd rather
How
interview
could
her
she
husband.
live with a terrorist? Pablo Cruz.
Terrorist.
Donald Trump, the most poll-driven candidate in the world, isn't he? He gets on there and he doesn't debate with anybody. He just tells them, "You're only at 1%. I won't talk to you. You're at 3%." Oh dear God.
I'm not a Trump guy, as I've said
I know you're
before
not,
on the
but
show.
if he's
Okay, but,
nominated, you will vote for him.
I find him a very interesting phenomenon. I used to think that he wouldn't make it, even if he won the Republican nomination, that he wouldn't win the general election. I'm not so sure now. Not because I've changed my mind. I still have the same opinion of him, but I have a good friend who lives down in Northern Virginia and has been a Democrat his whole life, and he's
You
a
like
very
him?
he's a highly educated man. He's he graduated from an elite school. His wife actually went to Wellesley with
Hillary.
Hillary Clinton, graduated in the same class, and they've been to the White House with Hillary, and because she would do her Wellesley reunions there, and they lived right nearby, and they'd go over. And now he told me that he was a Trumper, and I said in an email the other day, and I thought he was kidding me because
Did he vote for Obama?
he's a comedian, right? I mean, and he. Strong environmentalist, was an environmentalist his whole
Wow.
life, worked for the Nature Conservancy. He said he's a Trumper. I thought he was pulling my leg. And
Obviously.
we've been good friends for a long time, 30 years or more. And he said, "No, I'm not pulling your leg. He says, I'm a Trumper. At his school, it's an elite school in Massachusetts, and he said, when they started telling students what kind of Halloween costumes they could wear and not wear, he said, this political correctness has gone nuts.
I wonder what school
And
that
he
is.
said, and Trump is cutting through that, and it's time. And I said, well, what does your wife think? You know, because she's a little further. Well, she's not political, and she really isn't, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, we don't. And we don't usually talk politics when we get together because he's
Yeah.
on the left and I'm on the right,
Yeah.
and so we avoid that because I used to be on the left with him and we did talk politics back then, but we don't anymore.
Can we all agree? Can we agree on something that Ben Carson?
But just
Oh,
one
go ahead,
more.
go ahead.
So Trump, if this guy went for Trump, I'm thinking, woof, that I have to relook at this. I mean, he might make it.
He could possibly. I think Trump will be the representative of the Republican Party, and the danger for the party is that if he gets knocked off by a vote at the what do you call it, the annual the convention, if he gets knocked off at the convention, he'll form a third party and run as a third party candidate, and he's going to cause him a lot of grief. But the thing is, I think he'll be the one. I can't see anybody falling apart below him, some of whose votes wouldn't go to him. So I think there's 30 to 35% of all the Republicans that are basically Tea Partiers. So he's going to carry
Yeah.
that 35% through, and he'll probably gain.
I don't know. Cruz is elected. Or I
don't
won't
know.
interrupt.
Yeah, I don't know
Go
if he
ahead.
can. Yeah, anyway, but Ben Carson, poor Ben Casey Carson. I mean, I think the thing that really dug his hole and then he jumped in over it with the little opening to drop the weed in was the fact he came out with that story about the Egyptian pyramids being storehouses for grain. I think even the most remote person living in Timbuktu would understand that he was probably a little bit out of his league there with that comment. And since that day, I mean, he's been dropping like down a rat hole. And he appeared yesterday someplace in some island off of New York or something. One of these islands that's out there. I can't even think. He got hit bad by the hurricane several years ago.
Fire Island?
No. It's one of the boroughs. He appeared at some place yesterday talking some of this stuff, and I tell you, he had a small audience, like 10 or 20 people in this room, and he's lost everybody, all his leadership that was working for him, his campaign managers and all. They all quit him last week. So I think he finally sank like a rock, which is for the best because.
And where will his support go?
I
He
don't
had a
know.
lot.
Let's think of who's the craziest candidate out there. Cruz. It'll probably go
Martin
to Cruz.
O'Malley, I think, would be the craziest candidate out there.
Really? I don't like him. Yeah, he's got great teeth, though. I met him one day. He's really good teeth. That's all I can say to him. Boy, you got presidential teeth, man.
Okay, so we covered that. All right. Obama spying on Congress. This
Nothing's
is
going on.
very,
How can you
very
spy on-
disturbing.
Jeez.
It had to do with the Iran deal, this Iran nuclear deal,
Oh, yeah.
which is a disaster.
I know.
He
you
gave
say
away
that.
the
You
store.
say that, yeah, you
and
say
guess
that all
what?
the time. Yeah.
He's released $120 billion.
He did it
in,
himself.
in money that the U.S. had frozen in the sanctions, and
Yep.
he has released it back to them.
As
right
was the
about
deal.
Right about when they're about to go to war with Saudi Arabia.
That was
right
the
about
deal.
so they can buy several 100,000 more rockets to give to Hezbollah aimed at Israel.
Poor Israel. Poor downers like
so
Israel.
he when he was caught surveilling German Chancellor Merkel, she objected, of course, and so he told the NSA, National Security
Cut
Agency,
it out.
don't do it anymore,
Right.
except for Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan, or Erdogan, however you say it, and Netanyahu in Israel. Now, Netanyahu is our ally.
Not
He's our
Obama.
biggest
Not
ally in the
Obama's.
Middle East.
He's not Obama's.
Not Obama's. Clearly,
Come on.
Obama doesn't want him because
Let's be real.
so doesn't like him at all. But guess what? So Netanyahu's talking to members of Congress, and Obama knew this, and the NSA knew this, and so they're surveilling
Well-
private conversations between Netanyahu and members of Congress.
Recently, this happened?
Yeah, this happened about a week ago.
Yeah.
This came out. You didn't hear about it.
I didn't even know. I wasn't
Oh,
really,
yeah.
I haven't
This
been
is
in touch
serious
with the,
stuff. You got the President of the United States spying on members of Congress.
Who are the members, do you know? I'm
I-
curious.
I don't. But they
How do
there
we
were
know?
people who. What?
How do we
Look it
know?
up.
How do we know
When
he
you
was
get
spying?
home, you check it out. I guess
Well,
you're not going to. Media Matters isn't going to cover that.
If you were to assume that when they sent the letter from Congress, the Senate, to the Ayatollahs in Iran, telling them that, blah, 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 that once they got out of power, once Obama was out of power, they were going to rescind that agreement with Iran,
Oops.
right?
Yeah, I thought I shut that off. Excuse me.
That's pretty. And then when Netanyahu came to the House and spoke to the House and told them he thought of Obama's plans and all this and that, you could make an assumption in a time of war, and we are. Would you say we're still at war? We've been at war for like 15 years in the Middle East. If you saw groups like that acting independently of the government, on their own, conducting negotiations with people sworn against Iran, you could say, yeah, you better listen in to some of those speeches because we don't know what they're planning. And maybe they're trying to subvert the government of the United States. I'm just being a devil's advocate here in my 2 minutes because I think that may be what happened. I think what happened, they may not trust some of these
I
people.
thought I shut that off.
They may not trust some of these people, and I think it's working through there for some reason.
No, I
No?
did.
Okay.
Didn't.
I think you could make a case for subversion during wartime. Now, it used to end at the shore, right? Didn't we always say our overseas actions in time of war or what have you? I'm only going to go a minute. I'm going to turn it up. You could say that it was a time of war, and these people could actually be brought to trial. I think some of them.
Okay, let me answer
Yeah,
that.
go ahead. I'm just curious. What do you think of it?
1981 or 2, Senator Edward Kennedy
Yeah.
sending messages to Gorbachev saying, while Reagan is negotiating a nuclear deal with the Russians, he was conducting his own negotiations with Gorbachev. I would call that
It's similar.
the smoking gun
It's similar.
right there. Okay, he got away
But
with
does
it.
that make it right? I'm saying I don't
Doesn't make
see,
it
I don't
right.
find that
But
right in any circumstance.
I think it's our Congress people can talk to foreign leaders all they want to. Netanyahu is our ally. Okay, if
We assume that,
if they're
yeah.
talking to Kim Jong Un, then that's a different story. But if they're talking to the Ayatollah, but Obama carried on secret negotiations with the Ayatollah. He's also in this
Yeah, but I'm
Iran
not
nuclear
talking about the
deal.
president.
In
I'm
this,
talking about people that are members of Congress. They don't usually do that. Right?
President Obama has carried on these negotiations. He asked Congress to approve this executive action, which is what it comes down to,
You're talking
because
about
he
Iran?
calls it not a treaty, this Iran nuclear deal. And there are secret aspects of the negotiation that he
Absolutely.
didn't even make known to the Congress. And these foolish congressmen went and voted and approved it anyway, including the Republicans, which really, really chaps my butt. And this is the basis of Trump's support and other and Fiorina's and Cruz was perceived as an outsider because he is. When he goes in there, they don't like him in
disgusting.
Washington
No.
because he puts it to them. And this is it. I mean, we can't trust the Democrats or the Republicans that are in there. We can't trust Mitch McConnell or now Paul Ryan and John Boehner before him. They sold out. They sold out the conservative movement in the Republican Party.
See,
And
I feel-
that's why Trump is doing so well.
I feel sorry for the Republicans because just in a way, because what's going on is they're totally disillusioned with the form of government that we have, the way that the government we have is behaving.
Yes.
For years and years and years, they've been complaining, oh my God, it's the Democrats that do all these horrible things. Well, lo and behold, we had a Congress of Democrats for, 40-something years, it's quite a few years, ended in 1996 or 4. It ended that string of Democratic leadership in the Congress for years and years and years. And then they said, "Oh, they're all to blame. They did all this. We're going to change everything. We're
Yeah,
going
that's
to
right.
make it a new world. This is
right.
a new world order." Remember George
And then what
Bush?
happened, right?
Same thing.
Yeah, same.
Because what they don't realize, and it's sad, because I didn't think they were that either naive or stupid as a party, The people that follow these people lockstep, over 60, white, always voted, blah, 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 this way, that way. And the same, the Democrats, different league.
Racist.
Whatever. But the point is, what happens is they're all now disillusioned because everything that we knew for years and years, that the whole thing is in the bag, these people are just finding out. They're just finding it out. And I've known this for a long, long time.
Well, then
Then
why,
you don't
so
win.
do you support Trump then? Who are you going to vote for? Who do you
I
support?
like
You're gonna vote
Hillary Clinton.
Democrat, right?
I like Hillary Clinton because I met her. I think she's a wonderful person. I think a lot of the stuff that's said about her that's bad, I don't believe could be. I don't know. I think she'd be a pretty decent president, but she'll be all business too. She'll be all Wall Street. She'll be all Wall Street. We'll get the little table droppings that we've been getting for the last 40, 50, 60 years. I mean, that's the way it is.
So is the
You
okay,
think
you're
it's going to
on-
change? You got billionaires running this country. Wake up. Wake up.
Well,
You gonna
I
have
think that's
another
the basis
billionaire?
of Bernie's support, is that's how Hillary is perceived by many people in your party.
Bernie is perceived as an honest man. I don't think anybody can say anything that he's dishonest. I don't think so.
Trump, I mean, the stock market dropped below 17 the other day. Yesterday, I think it was. And
because of
it was
oil.
because the Chinese stock exchange, which isn't as open and free as ours is, but they dropped almost 7% and then suspended trading.
Right.
And then Europe markets opened, and then I don't know what they went down, I don't know by how much. And then the Dow opens, and at one point it's down 450 points. But then it rallied, and it was only down, I don't know, a couple of hundred at the end of the day. But today, we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen today, but
Because of the
most-
potential for war.
I don't, and I'm not. I don't claim to be an investment expert.
You play one on TV.
I'm not. Yeah, well, I don't give people investment advice. I don't. That was our predecessor. What's his name, Mr.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
What? Yeah. But I did
Anthony.
talk to one guy,
Anthony.
one friend who worked on Wall Street for a long time and did it successfully. And he said the stock market is a bubble. And he said it is because mostly Fed policy of zero interest rates. So people are they're borrowing money from the federal
To invest.
and they're investing it, and they're getting returns,
Sure.
and instead they're investing in stocks instead of investing in infrastructure, instead of building more plants
Plus.
and expanding and so forth. And so he said, so the economy is not growing, and the stock market is a speculative bubble. And they said, and he's made a lot of money in the stock market. He's made tens of millions, at least, maybe hundreds of millions. I don't know. I never asked him, but that's his end, and I trust his advice, and I think he's right about it. I don't invest anyway. I invest in real estate. That's something I understand. But I think he's right, and I think it's inevitable. No matter who's president, I mean, it's gonna start. Something's gonna trigger it, and it could be this Middle Eastern situation, the Chinese situation. The European Union's falling apart.
I have done it. I have done some investing since my youth, and one of the things that I know for sure, and the guarantee in the stock market, when you buy a stock and that stock moves up 10, 20, 30, 40% of what you paid for it, for God's sake, America, put in stop losses.
Put in what?
Stop losses. What happens is you pin a number. Say you bought a stock at 20 and now it's 80. Put in a stop loss at 70. It'll never go below 70 unless the world ends. If it
I
hits
see.
70, they
Yeah.
sell it.
Yeah.
More Americans go with these clods that sell.
So okay. So what would that do? How would that
It would
mitigate
stop
the
you from
situation?
losing your winnings.
Stop you from losing.
Yes,
Oh, okay, but, it's
but
not
everybody
gonna
else
help.
going to go down.
Not
What
for
do
the
you think
country.
the big guys do?
No, it makes sense.
The
as
big
an
guys
individual
hedge.
investor.
They
Yeah,
hedge.
yeah.
They buy it here. They pre-sell it here. All
Yeah.
kinds of different wrinkles.
Yeah.
But every 20, 25 years, you can just about guarantee that the stock market is going to have a really bad day.
Well, it
Look
looks
back.
like I predicted it'll happen sooner than that.
1899 or something, 1929, 1943 or 4 or something, 1950s, 1962, 1972, 1988. I mean, every 20 or so years, you got to be ready to bail. And people don't. But the big guys do. That's why they're always the big guys, and the other guys are always a little. I have friends that in 2008, when the market went to 7,000 and change, they lost half their IRAs. half their kiosks.
Well, Mike,
And I don't even play a stockbroker on TV, but I can tell you right now, they don't do the right things.
I don't know how much more time we've got, but maybe
Oh,
we
we
should
got
get to
tons of
these
time. We've
questions
got
that
some.
our
Well, now,
producer-
how's that going to work? Your bit on the beginning? Does that?
That's up to the producer.
All right.
So, why
This
don't
show
you-
may go a little long today.
Well, why don't you?
All right. Why don't I go?
Then it'll be my turn when we're done.
Yes. But we won't time. We should. Yeah, we should.
We don't time these.
Okay, we don't time these. Free for alls. Okay. Okay. Shut up.
You're not a tech genius, are you?
No. Oh my God. No. No. Absolutely pathetic.
All you got to do is shut the
I did. I shut the thing.
the ringer off.
Okay. Shut off.
Little switch on the side for doing that.
Attention. If the media gave as much coverage to every every presidential candidate, would Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton still be the front runners?
Well,
Wow, that's a tough
Obama,
question.
I mean, Trump did not have to spend any money until recently. He just put an ad out the other day for the first time. He said, I haven't spent any money. But so the media
200
clearly
grand.
made him.
Oh,
but
yeah.
and he's demonstrated some expertise in his ability to manipulate the media.
Oh.
And to get where he's going. However, if he didn't get the media attention he's getting, he's got deep enough pockets where he could have bought it. And he's in Hillary.
Yeah, but would he really want to spend that kind of money?
He said he was. I heard him say the other night that he was ready. He thought he would have spent $35 million by now, but he hadn't spent anything. He said that on Greta Van Susteren. So yeah, I mean, he said he was. The guy's got $4 billion according to his count.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I mean, that's
lot
a
of
drop in
money.
the bucket to him. So
The thing
he
is,
was-
yeah,
so
well, she
it
also
made
asked about
sense.
Hillary Clinton. What about Hillary Clinton? She's
Well, she's got a lot of money. She's got
Yeah,
hundreds
but
of millions.
he said, would she, if the media gave as much coverage to every presidential candidate, would Trump and Clinton still be the front runners? I think she would
I don't,
be.
Not by as much as they are.
I think she would be. Hey, I mean, Bernie's going to have some
Got
help.
name recognition.
Yeah, I mean, and plus he's a socialist, and really, the country really doesn't love. I think Bernie is going to be the type of person, the same kind of following as Trump does. He's going to get 30% of whatever's out there. He'll get the other
The left-wing
30%.
fringe of your party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, when you listen to Bernie, who I like as a human being, it just doesn't work. The numbers
like a
don't.
decent guy.
Numbers don't work. You know what I mean? But anyway, I think they would still have. I think they'd still be leading. Trump has a persona that inspires that group of people that really feel maligned by government, and Hillary has got such former involvement in the government with her husband and all that and everything else, and senator and Secretary of State. She's got so much of a background. She'd have to be leading against those opponents. I suppose if it had been someone like Joe Biden or something, maybe he would have gotten more votes too. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it. I think Trump and Hillary would still be leading, but probably not as much.
All right. Let's
Go ahead, dive into
let's
why
do
we.
the second
this
one.
This is from Top Shelf Management, right? This
Yes,
is
it is.
okay.
That's a short question.
Is it?
Make
No.
a prediction for 2016.
Did we do this last year?
Yeah. I don't remember
But I haven't
what our
heard it.
predictions
I
were.
think he lost them.
I don't
He must have
remember what our
lost them.
predictions-
We should have him
I'm
on
sure
the
they were
carpet.
brilliant predictions, but I forgot what they are.
I can't remember them.
Yeah, me too. Well, that's what
Go
you
ahead,
get.
make your prediction.
It's
What do
like
you
we
got?
can,
You-
we're getting so old. We'll be able to hide our own Easter eggs. When Easter
We
comes
better
up.
hurry up and go national
Yeah.
before we're invalids. Go
So
ahead.
my predictions for 2016.
Why don't
I'm
you give
not-
like
phew.
3 of them?
I'm a history teacher. I studied the past. We haven't had enough time even understanding that, much
All right.
less
Pick the winner of the
future.
election.
But
Who's
I'll,
going to be the president?
Oh, I think it's up in the air. It could go anywhere at all.
right, so Prezi?
I'll just tell you what I hope. I hope Ted Cruz goes in there or Marco Rubio. I hope. I'm not a
Marco
Trumper.
Rubio and Cruz.
Rubio or Cruz, yeah. And I think Rubio is probably going to be. Well, I don't know. I think he's better on camera. I think I like, but Cruz is not so good on camera. But Cruz has got a good ground game. Cruz and he's a shrewd campaigner. The way he's playing this I think is very smart. So that's
And
the
so
prediction.
President-
The Patriots won't win the Super Bowl. I hope they do, but I don't think they will. And
Vote went, okay. And one other.
one other, oh gosh, I think the stock market's going to crash, for the reasons I mentioned earlier. And I think the Middle East is going to blow up.
Jeez, that's for so crash in stock
And I
market
think those two things I think are going to happen sooner, maybe even before the Super
and
Bowl.
Middle East. What happens there? Okay.
Oh, Iran and Saudi Arabia. Not to mention ISIS, I mean, and Iran.
Or they call it Iceland. I think the president this coming November will be Hillary Rodham Clinton. I think that the Republicans, the sad part about this, the Republicans work so hard to get a majority in the House and a majority in the Senate and all that. They're probably going to lose the Senate. If Trump, even Trump or Cruz, if they're the nominated lead, either one of them to go for presidency, they're going to lose a ton of seats in the House and they're going to lose a ton of seats in the Senate. Just going to happen. They flip every 2 years anyway. So consequently, I think I don't know if the House will go Democrat, but it'll be very, very close.
The House.
The
Really?
House, yes. And
I'd be surprised.
it's going to be close, and the Senate definitely will go because what's going to happen? This group that's pushing Cruz or Trump, when they lose, will be so mad at the Republican Party that they will put up a lot of very, very conservative crazies, and they'll lose because they did it before. Back when the witch ran from Maryland and a lot of these different people, the crazy blonde woman there from Arizona, the governor, they all got their socks blown off in 2012, was it? I'm lying. Yeah, the last year that Obama won.
I think
And it changed over. The Senate went Democrat, and the House was, I think, Democrat or very close to it. And consequently, that's what will happen. So that's what I predict, is that the House gets close to being Democrat. And you know what? There won't be a lot of Republicans helping them because they can do better working with the Democrats. I think they've proven that right now than they can. The Republicans can get more done. The Republican establishment gets more done by working with the Senate Democrats and the House Democrats.
more done.
And you know it.
More done. You
Well,
mean
well,
like this
and more,
budget bill?
More than
done?
you consider bad. You consider it bad. But
do consider it
obviously
bad,
Ryan,
yes.
Ryan, who was a stalwart, ran for vice president, right? What is he considered right now? He's persona non grata right now, isn't he?
He is
By
he is with me.
by the right
Yeah.
wing.
Yeah.
By the right wing.
Yeah.
The Senate majority leader, these people are all hated by the. So what they will do, they're going to put up people in the next election in November. that
Somebody's
will be-
primarying Ryan already. As a conservative,
Oh,
they're running against
they're
Ryan
going
in
to
the
primary all, and the
And
problem is.
they tried to do that against
But they
McConnell.
can't
And guess what?
win.
Well, that guy got elected governor of Kentucky.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
But that doesn't affect the net. They don't care about that in Washington.
But the point is that he won a statewide election in
You know, he was from
Kentucky,
New
and he
Hampshire?
could have beaten McConnell in statewide election in a primary.
what's his name? Brad or something?
Something
Rotten
like
Brat?
that. Yeah, something like that.
Little brat.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, that's and I think the Patriots, believe it or not, I think they're going to be in the Super Bowl. I don't know if they can win it, but I think they're going to be in there.
I hope
and
so.
let's see,
I hope
the
they
stock
win, but-
market is going to be floating. Interest rates will rise. Stock market is going to get somewhat hurt. I don't think the Middle East will really go crazy. I don't know. It could.
Okay, let me start off.
Go ahead, start off with something.
Christians are being annihilated.
Good. Where? I want to go. I want to go
you
watch.
serious?
What?
You know,
It just hit me. Christians are being island, and they hate. We lost Christmas too this year. Oh my God, Halloween stinks. What? What else you got? God, where are they
I
getting
thought you
an
were a Christian. Gino.
Where are they getting?
You went. You
I'm showing my true self. Where did they get annihilated? I love these stories.
Iraq.
Now they're being killed in
Syria.
Iraq. Syria.
Yes.
Coptic Christians.
Egypt. They're not being annihilated in Egypt. They were under the Muslim Brotherhood. They were.
Didn't they
but
get
that-
open
but then
sewerage
the
in Egypt?
military took over again after the Muslim Brotherhood government under Morsi that Hillary supported, that Obama supported, and thank God the military knocked them off. And they're getting beheaded in Libya, which thanks to Hillary Rodham Clinton's policies there.
I see. They were
And,
when Gaddafi was
the
there.
point is that these places were, these people were Christians, they've been Christians for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Or even, they survived 1,400 years of Islam in these places, but now they're being, they're
By
they're becoming
ISIS.
extinct.
By ISIS, right?
Yeah, by ISIS. So that isn't a good thing. Now, here's one for you. In the city of New York,
Mhm.
if you know a so-called transgendered person, that is a man who thinks he's a woman,
Mhm.
and you don't call him she or her, you can be fined $250,000.
Oh, come on.
I'm not
Who
kidding.
told you that? Where'd
I'm
that
not
come
kidding. This is on Breitbart, and it came out on the 27th, and I have a link here. I could pull it up if you really want to. You want me to read you the whole story?
No, but I mean,
I'll do that. I got
it's
my
like, how
computer
would you
in
know she? What if you don't know she's name?
You can't, you have to, if this guy thinks he's a woman, then you
Yeah.
gotta call. And if they think they're neither a man nor a woman, they made up these other
do you
personal
call 'em?
pronouns. I think they call them she.
She?
Like instead of
That's
he
too much
or
like
she,
Gino.
they say she. So the point is that you have to go along with this fantasy world that they have created for themselves. We have to cooperate, or the government is going to fine you $250,000. Now, that, I think, is probably the most outlandish story I have ever heard.
Yeah.
And that's thanks to Mr. de Blasio
Yeah,
of
not
New
crazy, I
York
know.
City.
I know B.I.
Mayor de Blasio.
I know B.I.'s glory.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
This,
married
do you,
to. Yeah.
that absolutely blows
Well, they
my
are.
mind.
They are letting it get, no pun intended, getting a little out of hand with this.
A little.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Well,
things
that-
like this that forced my friend to go become a Trumper. Okay, he was
'Cause he
watching
wasn't
stuff like
called-
this at his college, safe zones and microaggressions and all this bull. That
Yeah,
excuse me, I have to watch my language when I get on this subject.
I must admit that I've been known to be very politically incorrect in my life.
Not quite enough.
I
to
never
suit me.
saved it quite. I never say quite the right thing. My wife says this to me all the time. She considers me one of the most politically incorrect people
Watch
she's
out
ever
in
met.
New York City, Gino.
Well, I wouldn't know because I wouldn't look at them. Wouldn't interest me, right?
You
How
wouldn't
would I
ask for
know?
their phone number, huh?
The only one I know. Well, I didn't like his choice of shoes or bag together. But
Well, if you bumped into him and said, "Excuse me, sir," and he thinks he's a woman, you could
well,
be
what if I
fined.
didn't know his new name?
I'm
'Cause
talking
they-
about personal pronouns. You have
Like
to know their
he holds the
proper
door for you,
names.
say thank you, sir, and it's a woman. Is that what you mean? You get fined
Well,
$250,000.
it hasn't been tested yet. I don't think anyone's actually been prosecuted under this or,
Who's the
or
guy-
sued. I'm not sure if it's a civil or criminal situation. But
Who's the guy that was changing their Kardashian's former husband? What's his name?
The athlete,
Yeah, we don't know his name.
Bruce Jenner,
Bruce Jenner.
Yeah.
He wants to go back.
and you didn't call him by his woman name that he
Kardashian.
chose. No, he calls
Oh,
himself something
Farina.
else now.
Was it?
We only
What
got
was
a
that?
minute
2
left.
minutes?
Good, we did both of them.
Was that Farina or Maltina?
I forget. I don't know.
No, but the
I know,
thing is,
but
he's
he's
going
got-
back.
he's
Yeah, but
got
gonna-
another name
He
now.
wants to be man again.
Are you serious?
He's going back.
Oh, I see.
I just heard it the other day on.
It's
one of the-
crazy. See, these people, I feel sorry for them. I mean, the guy's a confused individual, all right?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty evident. But we have to go along with his confusion, and that's what government wants to make us do.
I
That's what
understand.
colleges and universities are forcing people to do on their campuses,
I think
is
there is
to
real-
cooperate in this fantasy world.
I think there's a real problem with a lot of people that have that problem. That, probably 1% of the population or something has a problem with
Right. So,
whatever they call
you
it.
know, but they're ill. These people are confused. We don't have to go along. We have to pretend.
Well, maybe you just have to learn their new names and stuff quick and know them because you can make a terrible mistake. But I mean, I don't think most people make that mistake on purpose. I think it's just a mistake that's made. I don't think people are being cruel or what have you. They just don't realize, right?
This is government overreach, is what it is. We're
I
probably
know.
out of time. So
No, we're not out of time. I think we have another minute.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're out
All
of
right,
time.
well, look, we
Okay.
got to wrap this up. It's been a
Yeah,
month. Well, you took
been
the
nice.
extra time, really. Thank you, folks, for coming, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay.